Welcome to Intellicide, not GadgetCast. We are doing an episode on how to get into IT. So, Kyle, what do you think, man? What is someone that's facing looking into getting into IT? What do they face with?
So the trick is really IT is a broad term.
Mm-hmm.
IT has a lot of different types of jobs. Depending upon what you want to do, there are different
Yep.
paths. So
Yes, sir.
the traditional path that they used to, the classical nuclear family path was, you go to college, you get a degree, then you go get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, there are a lot more options for someone who wants to learn. IT can really be broken into a lot of different platforms. Really, people look for someone with specific skill set.
Right.
Personally, there's hardware and software, right?
Yep.
There's networking and programming. There is
Correct.
security, which
Mm-hmm.
actually also then has subclasses. Security can be also
Right.
broken into infrastructure or app, infosec or appsec,
Correct.
and then red team, blue team.
Mm-hmm.
So depending upon what someone wants to do to get into IT, the
Right.
easiest thing to say would be to start by getting a certification, because anybody can
Yep.
do it. There's lots of courses out there. Um, I personally recommend. I use a lot of the online courses,
Uh-huh.
but um, there are a lot of options for people who are wishing to learn on their own. And then there's classes. The thing about our generation, we're both Gen X, right? Um,
Right.
and we didn't have. There weren't college courses on networking, security, or the internet wasn't around. It
Right.
was an option. It was computer science, where you went and learned about mainframes and stuff.
Right.
Um, so it was from early on. I got used to teaching myself a lot
Mm-hmm.
with the internet.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of the traditional path is going to college, but you don't have to go to college. Take me for example. I went to the military, and in the Marine Corps, my MOS was small computer systems specialist. So what we did, we learned how to build Banyan servers, and we used Banyan vines at the time, and we did basic PC help desk type
Okay.
things, managing client email apps, running cabling, installing switches and hubs.
Okay.
Um, so that's how I got introduced to it, and then once I got out, I got hired by MCI, and we were in a Chrysler knock at the time. So
So it's interesting. I think, I don't know if I'm unique in this, but the way I always picture it um, is using the OSI model as
mhm,
that's the whole thing. You have to know a little bit about IT to even know what I'm talking about. But with
right,
the OSI model, it's a model that they use to describe how packets get transferred between computers, like how something gets
right,
put on the wire and transferred and represented on another computer. That stack, that
mhm,
process is what something goes
right,
through in order to move from computer to computer.
right,
But it kind of describes, in my opinion, so the bottom half of the stack, layers 1 through 4, are basically infrastructure, physical,
uh-huh,
the physical, the switches, the routers, stuff like you mentioned.
right,
The military is a great place to get experience with that stuff. They use
oh yeah,
a lot of cutting edge, technologies, and it's one of those places that you can go to get the free training and experience that you won't really get anywhere else. Um,
that was my first introduction to the OSI model. I mean,
yeah,
and they drilled it into you.
but and then on the other side, the top end of the OSI model, I call it, like layers, 5 through 7, are all about coding and programming and application delivery. So if depending upon how you want to get, okay, so the OSI model. I don't know if they have a good. Oh, did you find a picture of it? Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, there's pictures of it. I tried to pull up a picture, but it wasn't going too fast.
I wonder if I can. So here.
Yep.
You see it?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. Here we go. So the OSI model, yeah, the physical layer, which is your ports and stuff, data link, network, which is like where your IP addresses live, transport IP addresses get between places, session, presentation, and application, how it actually gets represented, taken off the wire and represented on the computer screen.
Right.
People who've been in IT for a while talk about an 8th layer of the OSI model, which is basically humans.
That's us, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a layer 8 problem.
Yes, exactly. That is correct.
Hey, so I had a little saying that helped me memorize it, and I went from layer 7 to 1. So a pizza slice taken nightly does look pleasing.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. I actually learned the one from the bottom up. Do not throw sausage pizza away.
That's pretty good too. That's pretty good too.
That's where my mind was at when I was memorizing it. That one stuck.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a great way to try to learn the model or whatever, and then what the different layers represent.
Yeah. And it's but it's one of those things that doesn't have just one path into it. IT is
no,
you're right. It's like I've had multiple people ask me, like, I want to get into IT, what should I do? And my answer is always the same. Well, what exactly do you want to do? Like, what do you picture being fun? Like, what do you have a passion for? That's the thing that you want to try to,
well, it's like you said, it's so easier now to get into it than when we were coming up, because people wanted you to have experience, etc. But they're like, where did you get experience from? And it was the chicken and the egg conundrum. Now they teach networking in high school. So that's an avenue that a lot of people can take advantage of.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely took the longest, hardest route you probably could. And then, like you, I didn't have a college degree in it. I didn't finish college. Instead, I went to work for, before the internet was around, I went to work for a BBS. It was a bulletin board system. It was basically a precursor to the internet. It was a computer network that you could call into with your computer in order to, share applications or do other things with other people. It was a precursor to the internet. So when the internet first came out, like when they made the internet public, we pulled the first fiber off of the Chicago peering point into Michigan and became Michigan's first internet dial-up internet provider, concentric network. But it was we had to create it from scratch, right? Like the whole thing was like to me it was very exciting. It was all brand new. It was all the latest technology, the hottest, and it was very exciting learning all that. But it was
browsing the internet.
What's that?
Browsing the internet today is so unlike when I first got connected to the internet. Well, it would terrify a lot of people now, where like we didn't have a GUI. There was no Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari. It wasn't even Netscape back then. You just, like you said, you dialed up and you basically IRC, a chat program or whatever. That was the internet.
Yes. Yep. IRC.
And I can remember
the news boards, Newsnet.
Usenet, and I can remember getting online and
remember using links the text web browser.
Yep. And
Buzz.
I actually went and got on the IRC program. It's probably about 10, 12 years ago. Just to see,
Still
what
out
it was
there.
like. Oh, dude, yeah, they're still there. But the converse, like, back in the day, they used to go pretty fast too. But
Mhm.
now it's like, you won't believe how fast those conversations can go. And I was
Oh,
like, wow.
it's almost entirely bots now.
Yeah, I couldn't keep up. I like,
Yeah.
and I know I'm older, but I just said, wow, I like, this seems so foreign to me now.
Yeah, I know you're right. I mean, I did the same thing actually just a few years ago. I went and looked to see if the IRC was still around and Usenet,
Yeah.
and they're still around. But
Yep.
yeah, they've been basically abandoned and hijacked by other forces.
Yeah.
There's not a
It's a
ton in them.
shame.
I mean, Usenet became a haven for piracy.
Yeah.
Then after they
Yeah.
cracked down on that, it became a haven for getting your computer infected with stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I, and it's terrible because I just had a conversation with someone. Security is a huge issue now.
yes.
And I'm not too proud to say it. I used to go and visit some rare sites back in the day. And
Yeah.
you'd get infected and whatnot. And I since I already knew how to build computers and I didn't have anything that was just I was so tied down to, I just format and reinstall a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
But now you have these ransomware attacks, and you have
It'll encrypt.
pictures, you
Yeah.
have files that you want to save, and so it's terrifying.
Mhm.
And so security is even more important now than when we were first getting introduced into IT.
It is. Yeah. So let me actually just so like you'd mentioned, you could go to college. Most colleges,
Yep.
even high schools, teach courses that'll give you the foundation to get
Yep.
into it. But then once you choose which way you want to go, hardware or software, whether you want to code or whether you want to get into hardware and maybe networking, then
Right.
you can kind of choose a path to learn. Um,
Yep.
one of the things that let me just show my oh, here we go. Okay. So let's say you want to get into IT and you've decided, your course. There's a couple of different sites that you can use that can really help.
Yep.
Pluralsight is one that, so when we got into it, right, like there's, the for a long time, the typical advice people got was go get a Cisco certification, go get a CCNA,
Right.
right?
Right.
If you want to get into networking, that might still be that's still a good suggestion for a good foundation.
Yep.
But much of the traffic now is moving into the cloud. And
Mm-hmm.
so while you do need to have a foundation in general networking, you also kind of need to learn those various platforms as
Right.
well. And you know, um, these sites do have great courses for things like Azure or
Mm-hmm.
AWS,
Yep.
Google Cloud, um, all of the different platforms that are hiring. Like that's the whole thing is people generally hire someone for a specific skill set. They want you to know, like Cisco networking, or nowadays it's a lot of it is, they want you to know Azure or AWS or a cloud
Right.
service, or even how
Right.
to deploy to a cloud service. If you're into coding, then they might want you to know things like, um, you know, uh, Ansible, Puppet,
Mm-hmm.
orchestration tools.
Now
But
is this a paid site?
this is a paid site.
Yeah.
They do
And
charge.
most of them are.
Yeah, most of these are going to be paid sites, but tell you what, it's cheaper than college.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them can get you certification by the time you're done. A lot of these
Right.
are actually certification courses.
Yeah.
Another
And
site,
and like you said, there's more than just Cisco.
there's more what?
There's more than just Cisco certifications.
Oh yeah, there is. Most vendors will have their own certification courses too. F5, Fortinet, uh,
Yep.
Palo Alto, they all have their own certification courses.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, this is, if you want to be a developer, you can learn web development, mobile development, a variety of different programming languages or game development. Um, you know, and then there's the business aspect of IT also. The, sales, account, pre-sales, account engineers, all those things that help sell the IT products. That's actually a whole nother realm. If you are good at sales, but you want to get into IT, there is actually, um, a niche for you there, in
Yep.
my opinion. But yeah, these are, so the other thing, if you want to learn, so Udemy is this one. I actually had to look that up. I've been pronouncing it wrong all these years. I've been calling it Udemy, but I looked up how to pronounce it. It's supposedly Udemy.
Okay. And I've used it before. I guess I must have been mispronouncing it as well.
Yeah. But Pluralsight and Udemy are basically two good paid educational sites. If you want to learn security, like you mentioned, if you wanted to learn like penetration testing, red team, that kind of thing, there's other sites like Try Hack Me that have learning paths that will walk you through cybersecurity courses, pre-security,
Oh, wow.
pen testing, teach you how to use the tools to do stuff like that.
Right.
And to break into IT, probably the easiest thing is going to be the certification, getting a certification in one of these areas, and then applying for an entry-level job.
Right. Yeah. And they're out there. I mean, listen, IT, because a lot of people look at it, oh yes, it's glamorous, and you can make a lot of money doing it, which I'll say, from the surface is true, but the problem that a lot of people don't realize is that you're not starting at the top, just from the start. A lot of times you're, like us, you're working these jobs where you might have to be on call, you might have to do shift work.
Right. That is true.
And
you're dealing with
right.
engineering, right? You're dealing with applications people are using during the day. So a lot of the time you're working at night while you're making changes to it.
Right.
Off hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. It depends upon, that's if you're doing like infrastructure or security, that kind of thing. Generally speaking, programmers don't do that. They work generally 9 to 5. Because coding is one of those things that's not,
Well, right. I mean, it depends. I mean, you can still have an application that, you code for that, is business critical, that, hey, we had an outage in the middle of the night. Guess what? Your application, you just got called for. So, I mean, none of it is 100% safe. There are some, as you say, that are safer,
right.
But, especially if on the physical side, you're more likely to work shift work starting out. You're more likely to be, having to work late nights or weekends, more so than not. And even if you do get up there in rank or whatever, a lot of times, you have these things called change controls. You make changes to the network during the off hours or the weekend. So, again, I might work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, but guess what? We got a big change this weekend or Friday night, and I'm working Friday from midnight to 6, 8 in the morning on Saturday.
Yeah. So best advice I ever got personally, and this kind of applies to all things, but I think it is good advice for IT. Generally speaking, in life, people are willing to pay for things that they don't want to learn how to do. So find something that you're willing to do that other people aren't, learn how to do it and do it well, and people will pay you for it.
Right. Yep. Yes, sir.
So yeah, that's it. So if you want to get into IT, if you have any questions, make sure to subscribe, like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. This is Intellicide signing off.